Hi guys, welcome to the Little Miss Tony Cooking Show from Tony's Little Bambinos in Merrill, Michigan. Today we're going to have pepper steak over rice. So I'm going to give you a list of ingredients, and today you need vegetables, any color pepper you like, an onion, at least 4 to 5 carrots thinly sliced. You're going to need oil, salt, pepper, garlic, cloves, 3 cloves of garlic, a little instant coffee, soy sauce, beef base, diced tomatoes, water, and of course your rice, and of course your meat. We have round steak today. This is like 4 pounds of it. I've cut up a little bit, but I'm going to cut up some more to kind of show you how to do it. Trim any of the fat off that you have, cut her in half, and I'll move this out. Let's slice her really thin. So what you want is a nice thin little piece. So I'm going to get this sliced up, and then we're going to throw it into our flour. Round steak is a little bit cheaper cut, but a lot of times when you're making stuff, you slice it really thin or you pound it down low. It is a great cut of meat at the very end. So what we're going to do is we're just going to season our flour after we get our steak all cut up, and then we're going to dip it into there, and then we're going to cook her up. I'm going to give you 2 different ways to make this today. So, okay, I'm going to turn these burners on. I'm going to put this one on medium for the meat, and then I'm going to turn the water on for the rice. So you're going to take the cut up meat. Whoops, sorry. First we're going to add some salt and some garlic and some pepper. And that's really all that goes in it. I'm just going to stir it up. Then I'm going to throw the meat a little bit at a time. I'll put some oil in the pan. Ah, heck with this thing. We need plenty of oil. All right. Now that I put oil in the pan, I'm going to throw the meat in here. Just going to bread it. Push it aside, and I'll just keep adding until I have all this meat added in here. All right. Now that we've got this part, for a minute I can't add no more meat in there. I don't have no more room. We're just going to lay the strips down. And we're just going to let them brown. You don't want to let them brown too much, but you want a little bit of crunch on them. Usually by the time you get one end done, the other end is close to being ready to be flipped. And then after we get the meat browned, we'll get our veggies cut up, and our rice should be close to boiling by then. You're just going to keep adding more oil in as you go along. So, you don't want to let these overcook. There's 2 ways to do this. You can make them ahead, and then you can throw them in the oven and let them in the gravy sauce and let them keep cooking. Or you can do it like we're going to do it today. All right, so you want a little brown on them. So I'm going to kind of show you. This just kind of has no crust to it. So we'll let them cook a little bit more. Add a little more oil, so this end's got the oil. Turn the heat up or on high. And as we're doing that, I'll add some more meat into my flour mixture. And then we're gonna wash our cutting board and we're gonna get it all cleaned up and then we can cut our vegetables up. I already cut some carrots up. We'll get some onions and our tomatoes, or our onions and our green peppers cut up. All right, so then I have all the meat mixed in the flour. So let's check our meat. There we go, she's starting to brown. Just want to give a light sear on it. You don't want to let this overcook because they're thin pieces. You can do it like that, or you can put them in the gravy and keep cooking them for about an hour in the oven. They cook rather fast, so. There we go. All right, let's see, our water's not even boiling yet. And as they cook, they'll shrink down a little bit so you can keep adding more pieces in. Get them cooked up a little bit faster. Sometimes I make this up at the restaurant and for a special, and they really seem to love it up there. This recipe is a recipe that my mom used to make all the time. And it has a little touch of my dad at the end, and I'll show you what that is. A little touch that he taught me, and I really seem to really enjoy it. All right, like I said, you don't want to let them brown too much. So while you got your hands all dirty, when you're touching cooked meat, raw meat, you know you should never use your dirty hands for it. You don't want to contaminate the cooked meat. So this is really what you want, is a nice little brown sear on it. And that's cooked. You don't have to cook it anymore. So I'm just about ready for my second batch. See how that absorbed all that oil? You use quite a bit of oil in this, just put some more in. So when I was cutting this, I didn't cut it partially frozen, but you can also cut the round steak partially frozen, and it's easier to cut it in thinner strips. You don't get thin, thick strips. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? All right, our water's boiling for our rice. So we're gonna stick our rice in. Like I said, this is just 4 cups. Just give it a stir. Put the lid on, shut the heat off, and let it do its little thing over there. All right, we're gonna get the rest of this meat cooked up. Okay, we're almost done with the last batch here. This takes about 15-20 minutes at least to cook all this meat up. You can do it with less meat and it doesn't take as long. But what you want is to make sure that you keep enough oil in the pan. You let them brown, especially if you're not gonna oven bake them any longer than this, so that they'll be fully cooked. Looks pretty good, huh, honey?
Really good.
There you go. So, this is a little bit more time consuming than some of the other recipes, especially when you're browning the meat. Like I said, that's all you want to do is make sure the meat's brown. Then we're going to pull it all out. There's your meat. So now we're going to we've already got our rice. Yeah, we give her a little fluff. And she's ready. Put the lid back on that. And we're gonna add a little oil to this. A little more oil. Let that get hot for a second, and then we're gonna cut our vegetables up. I'm gonna bring this right up here for us. Onions and carrots are gonna go in first, guys. So you don't have to be really picky about how we're cutting our onion. I love the big, huge onions. All right. So this is, like I said, this is gonna feed 6. And remember the little tricks, you can slice your round steak when it's partially frozen and it's easier to slice. Make sure you trim all the fat off of it. And while our oil should be just about ready, we're gonna bombard this with some onions. We're gonna throw our carrots in. That's like 4 carrots. I'm gonna cut the rest of this onion up because I really like the onion in it. All right. Throw the rest of that in there first. All right. You know this is called pepper steak, right? So, of course, naturally, there goes some more pepper in it. A little more of the powdered garlic. Just a little bit more sea salt. And then we're gonna take our real garlic. Just gonna chop that up and add. Wow. I guess we're gonna bungee cord these garlics down here. One flew in there and one flew on the floor, so I guess now we're gonna use 2 garlics. That makes it a little bit easier, smashing it again. And then we're just gonna cut these up. Just gonna add them into the mix. So, now that we have our onions and our carrots cooking away, our rice is ready, our meat is ready. Just let your meat rest. You can cover it with aluminum foil if you'd like. We're gonna cut up our peppers. I like to use all 3. I like the sweetness of the red pepper and the yellow pepper, and I also like the green for the flavor of pepper steak. So I'm not gonna use these. I'm gonna save these for another dish. And then I'm just gonna cut my red onion up, dice them up. Just follow the pepper around. All right, and our yellow. And our green, and it's a beautiful color dish too. I mean, the color is beautiful in this dish. You can also do it on a flat top griddle stove if you want, your griddle pan. So I'm just gonna chop these up. Seems like always when I'm chopping, this music comes on. This is my father-in-law playing in the background. This is all his songs. That's pretty cute. All right. As you get these chopped up, just throw these in. I don't like to overcook these. I like a little bit of the crunch. That's why I put them in last. My chopping skills are a little bit off today. I cut my finger, guys. It does happen. So it's hard for me to cut them downward. And it's also a lot easier to cut up vegetables and anything you're cutting up if it's at the right level for you. This is right here, the counter's right here. It's a little bit better. I'm shorter. If I was taller, I'd be up like that on my tippy toes. See how much easier it is for me to cut something on? There you go. You get your board at the right height with your knife so you get your pressure, you can cut and chop a lot easier. Let's keep giving her a stir. Pepper steak means peppers, and that's what we got in here, is lots of peppers. Keep stirring it. Our onions are starting to caramelize. Our carrots are cooking. Okay, and you give this about 5 more minutes, and then we're gonna put this on our plate, we're gonna work on our sauce, and we'll almost be done. All right, guys, I gave it about 5 minutes for this to cook. Really, what I'm most concerned about is my carrots and stuff cooking down, because I'm not gonna put this stuff in the oven. I wanna show you that some of the shows you're watching on TV, and they make everything look so elaborate. You already know how to cook when you're cooking. This stuff that they're showing you on TV with all different they're just not mixing everything together. So these are finishing. We're gonna get our rice on a platter. I'm gonna show you how to wow the neighborhood make them think you're the chef. Because once you learn the basics, you really are. So we're gonna put our rice. Like I said, this will feed like 6 people, maybe more. I don't know if you eat like my husband does, maybe not. All right. So we took care of that. And now we have our veggies. I'm gonna take these off, turn the burner off. I'm gonna stick these right in the middle. All right, I'll put it on the plate, but guess they won't all put on the plate, so I'm gonna make this over here for you. Take the rest of my vegetables here. No one said I was a really not messy cook. Seeing as I'm throwing things around here today. All right, let's get these on the plate. If you individually plate these, you could do fancy things like this too. All right, now we're gonna turn the heat back on our pan. And we're gonna add a little more oil. And now we're gonna add our tomatoes, our diced tomatoes. This is if you're gonna use a can, use like a 14-ounce can of tomatoes, diced tomatoes. Or a cup and a half if you're gonna use your own. And then to that, we're gonna add our beef base. This is a tablespoon of beef base. We're kind of making our own roux, our little loving mixture again, with our coffee and our base. This we're not gonna thicken up though. We're not gonna thicken it adding our coffee. This is a half a tablespoon of coffee, instant coffee. We're not thickening it because if you were to take and add your meat into this, this is a gravy. This will actually thicken itself up because the meat has flour on it. And then we have 1.5 tablespoons of soy. And then we're just going to let that cook for a second. And we'll add a little more, what do we call this? Pepper. So pepper steak. Add a little more pepper. Just a hair more salt. And a little more garlic. All right. Then now that the tomatoes are warming up, I can smell the coffee in it. We're just going to add our water. And we're going to let her reduce just a little, not a lot. We're going to let her come back up to a boil. What are you doing, Mr. Fritzler? He's over here stealing. So at this point, we're actually pretty much done. Now the decision is yours whether or not you want to stick the meat back into the gravy and throw it in the oven and put your vegetables in, put the meat in here, and then throw it into the oven and let her keep cooking, or whether or not you want to serve her a different kind of way. So I'm going to show you a different way to make it. We're going to take our meat, strap her down in the middle. Now, like I said, when they're doing these food shows and you see all these different ingredients, you'll see different gravies, you'll see different sauces, you'll see everything look like they've added so much stuff, but actually they just haven't incorporated it all. So this, like I said, this meat will cook up the other way. And now that you've got it like that, you have a little fancy plate. I think somebody over here wants to try this. I'm going to give him a little piece and you tell me what you think, Stephen. You got it? You can even at this point in time add a little moist soy on the top, which we'll do at the very end. I'm going to let this come up to a boil, and then I'm going to add the meat and stuff inside of it, and I'll show you how to do that. I'll be right back. I forgot I was going to do this soy different. Okay, I went and got my soy, so really just give her a shake. Give her a shake. So see, you're just doing little different things, presenting it table-wise a little bit different than the way that you normally won't know how to cook. So all they're doing is just something a little bit different. So over here I've got my gravy mixture going. So if you take, and you don't want to present it like this, throw it all right back in to the mix. All right. We're going to take this, stir her up. Let her come back up on the heat. And I'm going to fix my plate over here. Whoops. I love pepper steak. It's also my youngest boy's favorite dish. So, all right. We're going to take and I'm going to put the rice back on the rest of the rice on this plate. Oh, I'm supposed to save some rice for you? And that isn't happening right now. All right. So, we've got that, and I'm just gonna clean my plate up. Okay, now let's see how this is doing. So see it thickening up already? Like I said, this is up to you now, whether or not right now you want to stick it in the oven. But if you're going to continue to cook this meat, it will get tough again. It's almost like cooking a medium rare steak and turning it into a medium well steak. You know, people who like medium rare steaks, you pretty much ruined it for them. So you might as well keep cooking it into a pot roast. I remember back when I was a kid, my mother having prime rib for Christmas, and my dad specifically told her how to cook it, and she didn't cook it the way he wanted it cooked, and it turned into a roast. So the more you cook the meat, if you overcook your meat, you're just not gonna have the same thing you wanted for dinner. You're gonna have roast. So then just keep right on cooking it. Same thing with pork chops. You overcook pork chops, just keep right on cooking them. They'll come back tender. And so will steaks and stuff. So I'm gonna shut the burner off. I don't want her to cook any longer. And we're gonna set this up. Doesn't it look great? I mean, the peppers aren't too overcooked, but they're nice and perfectly soft. There we go. Huge portion. Very impressive and not hard. I mean, you know, we've used quite a bit of one pan. We had to do a little bit of prepping, but we did it. Now, if you think that this wouldn't impress anybody, you're wrong. This is wonderful. All right, make sure all my burners are off. This will soak underneath. All right, now maybe I can get Mr. Fritzler to come over and taste it again. Anyways, I'm gonna taste it. I gotta mix this in with this, see if I need any more soy sauce. That was a great amount of, not a lot of soy sauce, but that little bit of soy sauce gives it that little extra kick. This is pepper steak like you're never gonna see at any Chinese restaurant. And I believe it's a ton better. So I wish you'd try this recipe and see how well you like it. Hi, honey.
Hello, baby.
And we're gonna get you to try some pepper steak. Great with a little piece of Italian bread, sop up the extra juice. Gotta do that with your fingers.
Any way I can get it in my mouth.
Yep. Come on. And anticipation.
Wow.
Well, he's out of here, guys. I hope you enjoyed our program today. Pepper steak over rice. Homemade, great. You'll never want to eat takeout pepper steak ever again. But thank you so much. This is Denise from Little Bambinos in Merrill, Michigan, at Little Miss Tony's Cooking Show saying ciao, guys. Thanks very much.